About 3.5 years ago, though to me it feels like it's been much longer, Huawei had released their Watch GT smartwatch and with it changed the market and what users expect from this type of device. At that point, smartwatches were still in phase where manufacturers are trying to figure out what users' needs are and find that magic recipe, but it looks like it was the Watch GT that had hit the right spot for many users and gave them all the essential things in a single device, and reasonably priced one at that. In the meantime, we have seen quite a few successors to this model, 3 generations but with many suffixes, and a general impression is that Huawei had done a good job from the get-go, so that every new watch was more of a small evolution over the previous one rather than a quantum leap. Also, some of the features brought by new models would also arrive on older models through firmware updates, so we can say that each Watch GT was a fairly long-lasting solution. In the second half of last year, Huawei decided to mix things up, so instead of the 3rd generation of Watch GT, they introduced the Watch 3 series. Back then we wondered what's going on with GT and if Huawei had maybe decided to ditch it altogether, but the answer arrived recently in the form of Watch GT3 and Watch GT3 Pro models. In this video we will be focusing on Pro versions, but if you're wondering what's the difference, the Pro has some tangible advantages like ECG, better materials and improved waterproofness. These may be important to some users, while others won't care, which is why there is a choice. A regular GT3 is fairly cheaper. Watch GT3 Pro comes in 2 flavors, titanium, which is larger with 46.6mm radius, and a smaller ceramic with a radius of 42.9mm. Pretty much a gentleman's and ladies' watch, since the design is such that it will in most cases attract one or the other, but maybe we're wrong, let us know in the comments how you feel. GT3 Pro Titanium is a watch that, of all the Huawei models so far, expectedly mostly resembles the Watch GT2 Pro, but with enough differences that we can't say they look too much alike. In fact, I personally prefer the look of GT3 Pro, as Huawei has managed to make a shape that is both modern and classic enough. The frame and the bracelet on this watch are made of titanium, hence the name, and the result is a watch with average weight, but that has toughness and class of some stainless steel models of old. Unlike steel, the titanium in this case is not polished and shiny, but somewhat matte, which gives it a very cool sheen that I like a lot. The bracelet is a standard 22mm in width and comes with a quick release mechanism that detaches it if you want to put another one. The same mechanism is present on each of the segments, so that by detaching or attaching them you may change the length to fit your wrist. This isn't too convenient though, since titanium segments are not flexible, so it can be a bit difficult, but luckily once you set the right length, you won't have to deal with that anymore. Unlike this one, the buckles mechanism is excellent and releases easily by pressing the 2 mechanical buttons on its sides. The top surface of the watch is covered by glass, a sapphire one, which promises even better durability over the already good one on standard GT models. The screen is AMOLED, 1.43 inches in diameter, and with a resolution of 466 by 466 pixels, the same one we saw on Watch 3 Pro. Under the glass and around the screen there's a black bezel with 12 markings and no numbers, which is a more neutral design that plays along better with different watch faces. A smaller model, the Watch GT3 Pro Ceramic, is a very different watch in terms of design, size and materials used. The watch body is made of white ceramic and the screen bezel is slightly raised above the edge of the screen and is also white. Around the bezel there's a stainless steel ring that has an interesting wave shape that just makes you want to turn it around like on Galaxy Watch, but unfortunately you can't because it is fixed. The bezel, metal ring and watch body are polished with, as Huawei notes, a diamond dust, which results in a look that is reminiscent of a highly glossy plastic, except the ceramic is much more durable and the watch should look the same even after a lot of use, as well as avoid becoming matte or yellowish from sun exposure. The version we got to test is white grey, but you can also get the white gold, which looks so good, much better in my opinion judging from the photos. Another difference between those two is the bracelet, which on a white gold version looks similar to the one on titanium model, but is made of ceramic, very interesting look, while the white grey one comes with a genuine leather strap. In both cases the bracelet is 20mm wide and of course replaceable, so you can mix it up with some different designs. On a smaller model, the screen is also protected by a sapphire glass, but with a slightly smaller diameter of 1.32 inches, and curiously the same 466 by 466 pixel resolution, so the display is even sharper, though it's not likely you'll notice the difference as the pixel per inch count is quite high in both cases. As for the watch faces, there's an identical selection on both models, and I must say that this is something where Huawei has gone a long way, mainly due to the fact that they had allowed the third-party developers to create their own watch faces and release them in the App Store, both free ones and those that cost a few bucks. We tried counting how many are available, but after an endless scrolling we gave up. The best thing is that the quality of watch faces is now quite good, so even if you don't spend a dime, you can still find really good looking ones of any kind, analog or digital, and from more classic to very creative, so we have no doubt that everyone will be satisfied with what's offered. Unlike some previous GT models, now most watch faces come with their own always-on versions, even if it is a bit simplified and black and white, and in some cases may not resemble that watch face too much. Besides those, there are also 6 predefined always-on watch faces that you can select, and they are made to cover as different styles as possible. As for the interface, it is pretty much what we have seen before, though big changes were not even necessary, since it is functional and nicely designed. Swiping your finger over the screen to the left will cycle through widgets that display useful info about your health, activities and weather. Swiping to the right displays a summary screen with all the relevant info. Swiping down invokes the quick menu, while swiping up lets you access notifications. On the right side of both models there are 2 keys, a classic one on the bottom that when pressed will display a list of activities, and a so-called digital crown that you can rotate to scroll through various menus and options, or press to access a list of installed apps. When rotated, the crown gives a tactile feedback like on a mechanical watch, but only in menus where the crown has a function, while in others it acts like a simple key whose axis is not fixed. Since we mentioned apps, a few models back Huawei had made it possible to install additional ones via Huawei App Gallery, which should in theory get their smartwatches into the territory held by Google, Samsung and Apple. Still, we compared the number of available apps to those that were available back when Huawei Watch 3 was released, and found that the selection remained the same, so don't expect too many useful ones over what's available on the watch. It seems that Huawei should read from their own playbook and let the third-party developers do the same as they did with watch faces, in order to expand the number of available apps, even if you have to pay for them. Among the apps that you get on the watch, there are standard ones such as stopwatch, timer and an alarm, a compass, flashlight that displays a white screen, and a few health-related things we will talk about in more detail. Those you can install include battle maps for navigation, a calculator, simple games, online radio, a few fitness and diet apps, and some not overly useful things. Speaking of smart features, on both watches you can check the messages from your mobile phone and reply with predefined templates, check the notifications from the apps of your choice, as well as answer calls directly from the watch, which actually works really well. During testing I had voice calls by using the watch a few times because it was more practical or my phone was not at hand, and I could hear the person calling me well and vice versa. Health monitoring is of course a very important aspect of modern smartwatches, and in it GT3 Pro brings some improvements and new capabilities. Besides monitoring your pulse, stress, sleep and blood oxygen saturation, now you can also monitor your skin temperature, but don't expect it to replace your thermometer. It is more there as a reference that will let you know if something is out of the ordinary or your temperature goes up more than usual. A new sensor system, which is integrated into a ceramic back on both models, also supports an ECG, which, at least in our region, works without any restrictions we saw from other models like Galaxy Watch or Apple Watch. It simply measures the graph, lets you know if everything is okay or there are any problems, all with a warning that the watch is not meant to replace your doctor and professional medical equipment. As for the precision of other sensors, a new system is an improvement and is very decent, though still not perfect, and as always the results will depend on how high on your wrist you're wearing the watch. The higher the better. Besides the traditionally detailed information that you can find in Huawei Health app, which is one of the strong points of Watch GT series, on GT3 Pro we have also noticed some new health and fitness related things, such as new options, some interface optimizations, etc., which gives an impression of a more complete and refined product. For instance, there's an AI running plan which will ask you a series of questions about your current shape and create a detailed schedule of what to do and when to do it, whether you're a beginner or want to get ready for a marathon. Very nicely done. There are also advanced features like estimates of training effect of your running ability index and VO2 max, estimate of your pulse and tempo threshold up to which your body does not accumulate lactic acid, estimated times it would take you to run certain distances, etc. Also, you can activate reminders for different things like drinking water, daily activity goals, breathing, etc., which can be useful especially for beginners. With these improvements, this is really looking like a serious fitness ecosystem and a very useful thing for those looking to train smarter, especially if you also pair it with a smart scale that can measure your body composition. As for the activities that the watch can track, there's running, walking, bicycle riding, mountaineering, different gym cardio equipment, skiing, swimming, and curiously diving, which is a big no-no on practically all the smartwatches out there, even if they are 5ATM certified. Thing is, even if a watch is labeled as 50 meters, that does not mean you can dive with it to the depth of 50 meters, which is a bit confusing, but it's a fact. Diving is something that is usually reserved only for specialized watches made strictly for that purpose. Watch GT3 Pro is rated for a depth of 30 meters, and it can track free diving, not scuba diving with oxygen tanks. Besides dive tracking, you also get an option to measure how long you can hold your breath, as well as a training exercise to improve your ability. One thing left to mention is the battery life, which is traditionally a strong suit of Huawei watches. A larger model was able to give us 16 days of use during our test, which is even a bit more than the rated 14, or about 3 days with always-on screen active. A smaller model is rated at 7 days and can also last around 3 days with always-on. Both models are charged wirelessly via a round charger with a USB cable that you get in the box. All in all, in both of its variants, the Watch GT3 Pro is a very good smartwatch, both in terms of hardware and in terms of software and integration with Huawei Health app. The concept that Huawei chose is very different from that of Wear OS or WatchOS watches, with less smart features and apps, but with perhaps even better and more practical data analytics and a much better battery life. My personal impression as someone who has owned some of the previous Watch GT models and tested all of them is that this series has finally matured and that the GT3 Pro is a watch that has almost all the features I would want of a smartwatch, with a few features that make it worth the upgrade for owners of some of the previous GT models. Let us know in the comments below how you like this watch and which smartwatch model would be your choice. Oh, and let's not forget the price. Titanium version will set you back around €500, the leather and silicone 46mm versions are around €350, while a smaller version is around €580 in a premium ceramic strap variant, and around €500 with a leather strap. That would be all for this review. We hope you enjoyed it enough to give us a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing to our channel for more interesting tech content. You were watching Bench House, my name is Ivan, and I'll see you next time.